She carries one of the most legendary names in all of motorsports. And a few years back, she stepped away. Now, she's opening up about a decision that still stays with her. This is Karsyn Elledge's story in her own words. And hey, real quick, if you're a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We're pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. Karsyn Elledge. She's Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s granddaughter. She's Kelly Earnhardt Miller and Jimmy Elledge's daughter. And she's Dale Jr.'s niece. But before any of those family connections mattered, she was just a kid who could really drive a race car. She came up at Millbridge Speedway in North Carolina, competing in many outlaw box stock and beating drivers twice her age. At first, nobody saw it coming. Then she made the jump to the Chili Bowl Midget Nationals, racing for serious outfits like Tucker-Boat Motorsports. People were paying attention. And one person who got a close look at her talent was Kenny Wallace. During a recent YouTube interview, Wallace had a pretty clear read on what he saw behind the wheel. "You are nervy. You get with it. I mean, you go right through the wall, you turn it," Wallace told her. But here's the thing, that just as her career was starting to build real momentum, everything stopped. COVID hit. She was still a teenager when the racing world paused, and that pause gave her something she hadn't really had before. Time. Time to think, time to reflect, and time to ask herself a difficult question. Was full-time racing really the life she wanted? What happened next surprised a lot of people. In that interview with Kenny Wallace, Karsyn was completely honest about the path she chose. "I've taken too big of a swing the other way and made decisions that have sort of put my career and my life in a different direction," she admitted. "I don't know that full-time competing is ever in the cards for me. However, if I were ever offered the opportunity, I probably wouldn't say no." But what really stood out wasn't just what she said about racing. It was what she said about regret. And that's where the conversation took an emotional turn. "It makes me think back and wish I did things differently because I possess so many more qualities now, mentally and physically, that I would have needed what was happening to me at 19 to happen to me right now." Then she said something that probably resonated with a lot of people watching. "I just kind of wish I had a do-over of that era right now." Think about that for a second. That's a pretty honest statement from someone carrying a name like Earnhardt, because from the outside looking in, people assume everything comes easy. But sometimes the hardest thing to admit is wondering what might have been. Now, while Karsyn may have stepped away from full-time competition, she never really left the sport. She's just found a different way to be part of it. She built her own clothing line, Raceline Apparel. She worked in marketing at Mamba Media. As a teenager, she even hosted a Nickelodeon NASCAR show, and today she runs digital content for the Cars Tour alongside her sister Kennedy. In fact, that role once included physically breaking up a victory lane fight, something Dale Jr. himself publicly praised her for. So no, she's not gone from racing. She's simply operating in a different lane. And, that fearlessness she carries, it doesn't come from nowhere, because decades earlier, her grandfather showed the racing world exactly what fearless looked like, and the story is almost unbelievable. At the 1980 season finale at Ontario, Dale Earnhardt Sr. held a slim 29-point lead over three-time champion Cale Yarborough. However, there was one problem. His crew chief had quit mid-season. That left a 20-year-old Doug Richard running a green pit crew during one of the biggest moments of the year. Then something unexpected happened. Earnhardt came charging into pit road too hot. He clipped the wall. He scattered his own crew. And before the jack had even cleared the car, he hit the gas. The car launched off the pit box with the jack still dragging underneath it. For a moment, it looked like disaster. But somehow, nothing broke, no tire blew, no fuel cell ruptured, and nobody got hurt. What happened next only added to the legend. Earnhardt fought through the chaos and finished fifth. Yarborough finished third, but he didn't lead enough laps to make up the difference, and that's when everything changed. Dale Earnhardt Sr. walked away with his first championship by just 19 points, and in doing so, he became the only driver in NASCAR history to win Rookie of the Year and a Cup title in back-to-back seasons. Reckless, chaotic, and completely unbothered. Karsyn never got the chance to race against her grandfather, but anyone who's watched her drive already knows exactly where that mindset comes from. Which brings us back to where this story started. A talented racer, a difficult decision, and a career that might not be finished yet, because despite everything she said, she also made one thing very clear. If the right opportunity ever came along, she probably wouldn't say no. So here's the question I want to leave with you today. If Karsyn Elledge were ever offered the right opportunity to come back to full-time racing, do you think she'd take it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to NASCAR Nation News. We cover the stories that matter to fans who live this sport every single week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.